She asked if she could listen to what she called my tribal music, and was consequently very disappointed when I produced my tape of Mariah Carey. My roommate had a single story of Africa, a single story of catastrophe. In this single story, there was no possibility of Africans being similar to her in any way, no possibility of feelings more complex than pity, no possibility of a connection as human equals. After referring to the Black Africans as beasts who have no houses, he writes, "They are also people without heads, having their mouths and eyes in their breasts." People who, in the words of the wonderful poet Rudyard Kipling, are half devil, half child. The professor told me that my characters were too much like him, an educated and middle-class man. My characters drove cars. They were not starving. Therefore, they were not authentically African. I recently spoke at a university where a student told me that it was such a shame that Nigerian men were physical abusers like the father character in my novel. I told him that I had just read a novel called American Psycho, and that it was such a shame that young Americans were serial murderers. Now, obviously, I said this in a fit of mild irritation, but if my roommate knew about my friend Fumi Yonda, a fearless woman who hosts a TV show in Lagos and is determined to tell the stories that we prefer to forget, if my roommate knew about the heart procedure that was performed in the Lagos hospital last week, what if my roommate knew about contemporary Nigerian music, talented people singing in English and Pidgin and Igbo and Yoruba and Ijo, mixing influences from Jay-Z to Fela to Bob Marley to their grandfathers? What if my roommate knew about the female lawyer who recently went to court in Nigeria to challenge a ridiculous law that required women to get their husband's consent before renewing their passports? That when we reject the single story, when we realize that there is never a single story about any place.
This is Africa, the cradle of mankind's birth, where powerful kingdoms arose with stories of worth. A youth-filled land, the youngest population, with diamonds and cocoa from its fertile foundation, exemplary leaders, their legacy told. Nkrumah, Mandela, their spirits bold. From Johnson Sirleaf's Liberia, where freedom lies, and her first female leader, so wise. Let courage and dreams unite as one for a brighter tomorrow where greatness is spawned. In this beautiful, colorful, and friendly domain, greatness awaits, where hopes shall not wane, where tales of triumph weave a tapestry. Welcome to Today in African History.
(1897). The day was September 15th. Pictured here is Mary Church Terell, born in Memphis in 1863 and an activist until her death in 1954. Mary Eliza Church Terell has been called a living link between the era of the Emancipation Proclamation and the modern civil rights movement. She was the first African American to receive a college degree. Terell was particularly active in the Washington, D.C. area. From 1895 to 1911, for example, she served on the District of Columbia School Board and battled against the inequities fostered by the city's segregated system. Terell was the first president of the National Association of Colored Women, NACW, which was formed in 1896. In her first presidential address to the NACW, delivered in Nashville on this day in 1897, Terell makes a stirring plea for unity, activism, and race pride. Part of that speech reads, "This lady, Mary Church Terell, was a woman ahead of her time. She saw the inequities in the system in the United States of America, and her aim was to address what she felt was wrong and what a lot of American women at the time felt was wrong. Most of them obviously too scared to speak out, possibly. So this is how part of the speech goes. This is going to take about 5 to 7 minutes, so bear with me, guys, but this is very important. It's important that you listen carefully to what Mary Church Terell had to say well over a century ago. So 1897 again was the day. It was the year. The day was September 15th. The speech starts, "In union, there is strength, a truism that has been acted upon by Jew and Gentile, by Greek and barbarian, by all classes and conditions alike, from the creation of the universe to the present day. It did not take long for men to learn that by combining their strength, a greater amount of work could be accomplished with less effort in a shorter time." That is just common sense, isn't it? We denominate ourselves colored not because we are narrow and wish to lay special emphasis on the color of the skin, for which no one is responsible, which of itself is no proof of an individual's virtue, nor of his vice, which neither is a stamp, neither of one's intelligence, nor of ignorance. But we refer to the fact that this is an association of colored women because our peculiar status in this country at the present time seems to demand that we stand by ourselves in the special work for which we have organized. For this reason, it was thought best to invite the attention of the world to the fact that colored women feel the responsibility as a unit and together have clasped hands to assume it. In the unprecedented advancements made by the Negro since his emancipation, we take great pride and extract therefore both courage and hope from a condition of dense ignorance. But 30 years ago, we have advanced so far in the realm of knowledge and letters as to have produced scholars and authors of repute. Though penniless as a race a short while ago, we have among us today a few men and women, I add, of wealth and multitudes who own their homes and make comfortable livings. More than any other race at present in this country, we should strive to implant feelings of self-respect and pride in our children. Very important, guys, whose spirits are crushed and whose hearts saddened enough by indignities by which, as victims of unreasonable, cruel prejudice, it is impossible to shield them. Let it be the duty of every friend of the race to teach children who are humiliated on learning that they are descendants of slaves, that the majority of races on earth have, at some time in their history, been subject to another. Very important, guys. Stay with me on this. This knowledge of humiliation will be important when we are victims of racism. Let us not only preach, but practice race unity, race pride, reverence, and respect for those capable of leading and advising us. Let the youth of the race be impressed about the dignity of labor and inspired with a desire to work. Let us do nothing to handicap children in the desperate struggle for existence in which the unfortunate condition in this country forces them to engage. Purify the atmosphere of our homes till it becomes so sweet that those who dwell in them will have a heritage more precious than silver or gold. Mary Terell, impressed by the radical protest tactics of the British suffrage movement, she hoped to participate in direct action in the United States. The opportunity came on March 3, 1913, when she proudly marched with other African American suffragists in the first women's suffrage parade held in the nation's capital. Planned for the day before Woodrow Wilson's inauguration, the 1913 march was a seminal event in the history of the campaign for women's voting rights. It is also well known for being marred, listen to this guys, by the attempts of white suffrage leaders to block African American women's equal participation. Just think about it. Think about how selfish this is. You would think that the white ladies, these women whose ancestors came from Europe, would be sympathetic to the African American women. So they're fighting for their own rights to vote, but they're trying to prevent the African American women from fighting for the same rights. The irony of it all. A lady called Alice Paul, the young white college-educated Quaker who organized the march for the NAWSA, hoped to carry the favor and participation of white Southern women. Paul, that is Alice Paul, first planned on excluding black suffragists and then hoped to segregate them at the very end of the parade. How selfish is that, guys? Several African American suffragists, including Terell, defiantly marched throughout the parade. Mary Church Terell, ladies and gentlemen, do not forget this lady. She changed the course of history for colored peoples, not just African American people, for all colored peoples in America and all over the world. They have to fight on all these fronts. You know, you're being treated as a second-class citizen because you're black. Then you're being treated as a second-class citizen because you're a woman. Last but not least, for today in African history, check this lady out. This is very intelligent, articulate lady. She is not scared to speak her mind. We need more women like her. Her name is Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She was born on this day, 15th of September, in the year 1977. She is a Nigerian writer whose works include novels, short stories, and non-fiction. She was described in the Times Literary Supplement as the most prominent of a procession of critically acclaimed young Anglophone authors of Nigerian fiction who are attracting a wider audience, particularly in her second home, the United States. Adichie has written several novels, including Which, Purple Hibiscus, written in 2003, Half of a Yellow Sun in 2006, and Americana in 2013. We Should All Be Feminists 2014, and Dear Ijewale, or The Feminist Manifesto in 15 Suggestions 2017, and a memoir, Notes on Grief, in 2021. In 2008, she was awarded the MacArthur Genius Grant. She was the recipient of the Penn Pinter Prize in 2018. She was recognized as one of the BBC's 100 Women of 2021 in a house on campus, wait for this, previously occupied by Chinua Achebe. So if you know anything about Nigerian history or Nigerian literary history, you would have heard the name Chinua Achebe. He is one of the most famous Nigerian authors, in fact, one of the most famous African authors. I would place him in the top 5, if not the top 2, top 3. It's interesting, coincidentally, that Chimamanda lived in the same house as the late Professor Chinua Achebe. Listen to this, guys. Adichie delivered a talk titled The Danger of a Single Story for TED in 2009. So we're talking about TED Talks now, TED. It has become one of the most viewed TED Talks of all time, obviously at the time of writing this, having amassed over 33 million views. In the talk, she expressed her concern for underrepresentation of various cultures.
Humanize. Stories can break the dignity of a people, but stories can also repair that broken dignity. The American writer Alice Walker wrote this about her southern relatives who had moved to the north, and she introduced them to a book about the southern life that they had left behind. They sat around reading the book themselves, listening to me read the book, and the kind of paradise was regained. I would like to end with this thought, that when we reject the single story, when we realize that there is never a single story about any place, we regain a kind of paradise.
So women have gone through a lot, to push for equality. So I think, I don't think women today, those who are still alive today, who are still fighting injustices, most of our women today are too scared, timid to speak up for their rights. We need to give them a pat on the shoulder, encourage them as men that we are. We shouldn't be afraid that the women are about to take over the world. We should encourage our women. There's no one on earth, no one who's ever been born who was not born of a woman. Most of you listening to this, if you're a man, you probably have sisters, or you've got aunties, or you've got cousins who are female. Support their cause. Don't feel threatened by them. Respect them. Treat them with respect. Treat them like you would treat your own sister, even if they were not your sister, or your mother. Try and empathize with them. Try and see things from their perspective as well. Celebrate them. Do the best for them. They're not perfect human beings, so are you. You are not perfect, but give them a listening ear. Women are happy when they're listened to. Actually listen. Actually listen to your woman, to your sister, to your mother. Listen to them. They've been through a lot, especially if they're African American. Okay, guys, that's it for today. This is something I'm very passionate about. I'm sure you can tell. And when I see women who are brave enough to stand up for their rights, I give them the due respect that they deserve. I think you guys should too. Okay? Don't feel threatened by any woman. You're a man. You shouldn't feel threatened. They're human beings. They're here to support us, because when they stand for the rights, for their own rights, they're standing for the rights of their children, male and female as well, especially if they're African American, especially if they're black women. They're doing this for all of us, for the rest of the world. Thanks for dropping by, and see you tomorrow. If you like this video, you like what we're doing here, you're here for the first time, consider subscribing to the channel and sharing this video, liking the video, and turning on your notification bell as well. If you've been here before, you know the drill. If you haven't subscribed yet, do subscribe. It will help our young fledgling channel grow. This is the longest video ever on this channel. So thanks for staying to the end of this video. We appreciate your support. Have a fantastic day and see you tomorrow, September 16th. Bye for now.